Hey everyone, welcome back to Kayan Al-Bashar, where today if I had to summarize everything I had to do for today's episode, you could basically say that if any government or security official or thingy watched my search history, they would think that I was planning to murder someone. But I will talk more about that when it becomes relevant. But also, I changed two things about the videos. First of all, I plan to make them a little bit shorter, at least let's say 5 minutes, such as today's video. And also, I changed up the intro. And I'm really curious what you guys think of the intro. Do you like it or do you want to see something different? I'm always open to suggestions, so basically that's a little bit the question for today's video. And also, yeah, we are still not in the tiger habitat because I did film a little bit or record a little bit of building in the tiger habitat, but yeah, building an indoor cave system, or at least not cave system, but just an indoor habitat that's just completely enclosed. Yeah, I couldn't really see anything in the footage, it was just complete darkness, so I might either build the indoor habitat outside and then place it inside, or not record it and then show it to you guys in some kind of cinematic video. But anyway, so for today's video, we are first starting off by building a house, because the village basically hasn't seen any kind of change since we built it in the first episode. So we are going to build 4 houses today, and well, the thing that makes it look like I'm going to murder someone or have a very heavy party life, which I don't have. Well, except for New Year's, but we don't want to talk about New Year's. Or at least I don't, because actually, why not? Because let's just keep it real. Most of the time the commentary isn't in any way related to the video, so let's talk about New Year's, because I have the somewhat gift, I would say, to not really get hungover, and this New Year's was the first time I did get hungover, and it sucks. Anyway, so back to the building and away with that weird side note, but yeah, today it's a little bit more structured in the video, but also, of course, there's the normal rambling, because this is really just like emptying out my brain of everything that I thought about while building. So the building that we're building now is a little bit of the peasant houses that we built in the previous episode, but then mixed a little bit more with the village, I would say. So it's somewhere in between. And the first thing that I thought was make this Lauman's house, but I don't want to put Lauman in the, well, minus 15 degrees Celsius area here. I think I want to put her a little bit more in the valley. So Lauman, if you're watching this, you're getting a little bit of a cozier, maybe at least warmer house. So I'm not sure what this or who this house is for. I want to make it for one of you guys, but yeah, I have no clue who. Well, it's a little bit actually more decorated than Marinari's house, so sorry Marinari, your house is not the best peasant house anymore, because I figured I could use those fences to make some kind of lattice work and make it just a little bit more decorative than all the other peasant houses. Well, all the other, we have 2 so far, but yeah, it's though a little bit smaller than your house, Marinari, so whoever gets this house has a little bit more of a decorated house, but a little bit less space, I would say. And it's closer to the village, so yeah, there are cons and pros to this house, so I don't know who gets it. I will just, search through all the comments, and yeah, let's just say I also thought about giving Maymay the house, but I also just think Maymay would need some house in the valley instead of in the snow-capped Mirage mountains. Also, the village finally has a name. I'm not going to reveal it, I'm going to reveal it in the next video, because then we are actually going to finish the village. But yeah, it's let's just say it was one of the reasons why my search history is kind of troubling, I would say. But anyway, so the village, first it didn't really go anywhere. I just had like, alright, get Arabian style houses and then place them in winter or in a snowy area and then think, how can I make this suitable? And now it actually does have like a very, not very strict, but it has a clear reference of architecture style and just a little bit more cultural style, which is actually Kurdish or Kurdish. We in Dutch say Kurdish, but I think in English it's Kurdish or Kurds. You know, the people group in the eastern area of Turkey, western, northwestern area of Iran, you know, that area near Armenia and such. And I'm not going to go into the political situation there because that's the can of worms I don't want to open on this channel. But I really like their buildings. Or at least the architecture style where basically the roof of one building is the garden of the one above it. However, we don't really have that much elevation difference in this village, so that was a little bit hard to pull off. So I basically force-fed some elevation into this village, which at first it wasn't going to have, but now it does. So this house that we're building right now, the, let's say, ground floor is pretty much the basement actually of the house. And then the second floor or the first floor is more likely the ground floor of this house. And then the house before this one, which we actually built, I think, in the first video. I think we did that as the last house. You can see it in the background. But the roof of that house now is basically the terrace or garden of the house that we're building now. Also, the extension that this house has, it has a name, but you guys know that I'm awful with, well, any kind of definition and just name, so we're just going to skip that. But I really like it because basically it makes the entire street into an alleyway. So I already like it just because of that. I don't know really why, because an alleyway is usually not the most like inviting place to be, but considering this village, it actually is kind of inviting, or it somehow looks inviting, even though literally you could, well, it looks like you could literally just lie down on the ground and your feet would touch one building and your head would touch the other. So there's very little space in between the buildings, but I really like it. Yeah, I don't know why I like a cramped alleyway. Like the alleyway that we built in the first version of Kayan Al-Bashar and in the Traders District, which I think was named the Street of Silk, or yeah, Path of Silk. I already forget that name, so that's already a sign that I've completely moved on from the first version of Kayan Al-Bashar. But that one was a lot wider. I think it was double the size of the alleyway that we have right now. So yeah, I just really like how this village is coming together. That's just like, it actually has a definitive architecture style. It has, well, right now it doesn't have much culture, or at least not really the culture that I want to implement into it, but eventually it's going to have that because, well, we are going to, I don't know if I'm building it on screen later on, but we are going to build a bit of a square, and I just thought like, let's have a festival there or something like that, because this village, and it's going to be a little bit opposing to the temple, but also it's, well, kind of dependent on the temple because of pilgrims, but the village just doesn't like the temple because people tend to go there and end up missing because I think one of you guys said this, but yeah, we have sheep running around and no shepherd. So I just immediately thought like, maybe he went to the temple and just never came back. I think also one of you guys said that as a suggestion of like, oh, that's probably where the shepherd went. Maybe he's now resting in the basically canyon down below. Because, yeah, that's the one thing with Kayan Al-Bashar. It's very easy to dispose of a corpse. Yeah, I'm not worried about this video being stamped as for children. I mean, in the last video we talked about, well, everything. Let's just say, human sacrifices. Well, actually, did I talk about it in the last video or in the video before that? I don't know, and I don't really care anymore, but yeah. Anyway, so the buildings are, well, they are not completely Kurdish in style, because when you look at a Kurdish village, it's more, well, just stone and not wood, because stone is a little bit more plentiful and more easily found in, well, the region that they live in. But because I was already having a lot of buildings with wood and I didn't want to rebuild the entire village because that would have been a nightmare. So I basically went with the same style but just with different building techniques of like where to place a building. And also so that like if you have windows going south, they are a little bit larger. If you have windows going north, they are tiny. So you see that in this building where the windows oriented towards the south, or at least what I think is the south, because, well, we could look at the sun in Planet Zoo, but I really don't care about that. So I just thought like, this is the south, I say it's south, this is why it's south. That's basically the entire reason behind that. So the windows oriented towards the south are a lot larger, because those are the windows that really let in the sun. And then the windows to the north are basically there to just let in a little bit of sunlight, but then also they have to be small so that it doesn't encourage loss of, let's say, warmth, or makes it easier for the cold to get into the house. Also, I said in the previous video that I need to build chimneys, and I built one chimney then and then forgot it for Mirage house, so Marina's house right now is freezing, and the rest of the village is also freezing because I just forgot to build chimneys. And I think Kayan Al-Bashar, or at least the village, I really want to say the name because I really like it, but yeah, I have to struggle to not say the name right now. But the village is also right now freezing. However, I did implement it that the roof of one building is the terrace or garden of the building behind it. But as I said before, there's not a lot of elevation difference, so you can see me here force feeding elevation into the village, because I wanted it to be like a Kurdish style village. And yeah, there's over time you see in between buildings that they kind of start to blend together. Or at least I can see that. Also, this is the one building that actually has a function. And then later on I completely forget to put that function in because it does have one wall to put a shop in. And I forgot to put a shop in. So the building right now is kind of useless. It's just decor right now. But it can be useful, and it will be useful just to get people to go to the square that I built later on, where I want to make it look like there's some kind of festival. However, as I said before, I do think that this village is kind of like, either they don't like the temple or they are suspicious of the temple, just because a lot of people tend to go missing or just get huge buttloads of misfortune when going to the temple, because Jinn aren't the most trustworthy, and especially the ones that I envision for Kayan Al-Bashar. I just think that they would just as easily doom you as they would help you. Probably some Jinn would probably just doom you just for the fun of it. So yeah, the buildings just kind of blend together, and I try to give like minimal changes. This is one of the first where I did actually make a change, because I needed to have a little bit of a change, otherwise they would just all look a little bit similar. Well, that's what you're supposed to usually have in a village. You usually, if you look at a town, you usually can somewhat approach it like a tree stump where there's always layers to a town or a village or city. Well, maybe not when you have like a very planned out city as they usually have in the US, but let's just say all the older cities in, let's say, Europe, Asia and such, you can usually approach them a little bit like a tree stump. So this being a tiny village and it's not really growing that much, it's just like one layer, so they will usually have just one type of building, or at least one type of architecture style. This is really just me trying to make an excuse of like, oh yeah, that's the reason why all these buildings kind of start to look similar. But anyway, it's the thing that I wanted to implement here was to make it look like the mud bricks or something like that were kind of deteriorating so that the building looks older. So you can see the framework behind the plaster or mud bricks kind of show up. So this is probably one of the older buildings in the village. But yeah, it's also, yeah, it's actually the last building that we built today before we get into the thing that kind of makes me look like a murderer. So that's going to be interesting. Also, it goes off of things that you guys said. And I have to quickly look this up because otherwise I will just forget who it was from. I know one of you said it, but I kind of forgot the other one. That's not the best thing to say. But yeah, sometimes I just get a few comments and then I just start to blend them all together for the next video, and then yeah, that's basically what usually happens when I ask for suggestions as well. Then I just blend all the comments together in one idea, and that also makes it sometimes maybe look like I'm not really listening to the comments or suggestions, but usually I take your guys' comments as a stepping stone. So you might say, actually Mamai gave a lot of names, and I should have gone with the names. Actually, I did take part of the name, and actually a lot of you guys suggested this part of the name, but I'm not going to say what that is because otherwise there's a little bit less surprise when I do reveal the name. But I thought, yeah, I basically used the languages that she gave me, and then I abandoned that language because I changed the village into a Kurdish village. So yeah, the name of this village is actually also Kurdish. It was kind of annoying to get all of that translated. So fun, but sometimes I literally end up 2 hours of just straight up trying to translate something. And that's, I mean, it's fun because I like to build the story behind the buildings and everything, but sometimes it's just like, oh wait, I've been at it for 2 hours trying to literally come up with a name, which, yeah, I'm still looking up actually. I know Kane suggested one part of it, and then another one also gave one part. I'm looking through all the comments right now. This is going to take a while, but let's just say beforehand, yeah, the thing about me looking like a murderer, because now it actually makes a little bit of sense to start talking about it, but I had to look up a multitude of poisons, or at least natural poisons. So you will see me later on build a few plants, or at least a few flowers, that look kinda similar to some poisons and hallucinogenics, or as, let's just say they make you go crazy. Or kill you, depending on how much you take. So I think Kane gave me the fun leaf plant, or, well, I shouldn't even be scared about saying it, but I think Kane gave me the wheat. That sounds very strange, but I finally found it. Marinari also gave me the other one. But yeah, basically I looked for a lot of drugs or poisons. Yeah, that's basically what we're going to build in small little things. or small little corners of the village, so that is not really in front view. Because, as I said, the Mirage Mountains, I want to have that duality of like, it looks very pretty, but if you anger the wrong people, you will likely end up dead. And also, now that I think about it, why would you need poisons? You can literally just kick someone off a floating island and they are usually dead. Like, usually those islands are high enough to basically end up in death. But, well, for the fields, as I said, I wanted to make it not completely in front center view, but I wanted to also have it so that you, as, let's say, an outsider, know that this is like, oh, this is a different plant. So in between all the, well, root vegetables such as potatoes and such, here I actually in the end remove a little bit of the plants or the crops, and yeah, I struggle with trying to make poppies. Marinari knows what I'm talking about because poppies are the ones that you use for opium. And let's just say opium is I would say fun thing, but I have no idea what it does. But it's a drug. I mean, in China they went crazy for it for a few bits. But yeah, these plants that I use right now, they look a little bit similar to the ones, well, to the poppies. But then I also thought, I've used this plant a lot before. Are the Mirage Mountains just full of poppies, such that it's actually full of basically the ingredients for opium? Yeah, in the end I went for, I think, the African daisies. They look a little bit different, but then also these plants don't look completely similar to poppies. I really wanted to have at least the flowers be recolorable, because then you can make them, let's say, red, and then, but yeah, opium of course is a little bit more party and not so much death. However, of course, drugs in higher concentrations can always go into that. Maybe they use the opium to get you happy and cheery and then just boot you off the floating island. And then they can make it up a story that you were so high that you basically just fell off the island. Now that I think about it, yeah, that's kind of a dark thought. So that the square is literally where the party is, and then you have literally the opium right front and center. However, you can't really see it from the square. Well, you can see it, but you have to be at the edge of the square because of the terraces. Yeah, maybe they use the opium to get you happy and then they just boot you off the floating island. Or they feed you to the tigers in the temple. One of them is actually now named Topaz, so yeah, I'm going to go into the backstory of Topaz later. But now to the actual secret garden, which you really can't see from the road. So again, going into the duality of like, oh, this is a very nice village. Oh, this is like very heavily with drugs and poison and just, let's just say this village, even though it looks very pristine, very pretty and everything, is probably the main center of all the poisons that go through Kayan Al-Bashar. So yeah, not the friendliest village. However, it still looks friendly. It's just like that undertone of like, also these flowers, I have used these in Ozaru a lot actually, and they look a lot like Datura flowers. And Datura is a well-known poison, and actually it's a strange flower, because depending on the dose that you get, it's either, or at least from what I know or from what I researched, I don't know it firsthand, please don't think I'm a murderer, but from lower doses it can be medicinal, it can be an aphrodisiac, it can produce very strong hallucinations, and there's a high chance that it kills you. Because if you get anything wrong with the Datura plant, from what I know, it just straight up kills you. You need to have like a very just precise amount of like, this is what you need, and then it becomes like one of the other three things. Get it wrong, you're dead. So yeah, that's basically how I probably ended up on a watch list from some kind of let's say, just government or security people, because yeah, this took an entire day just to find what can I use that has some kind of usage in Kayan Al-Bashar, or at least in Plant Suit, so that I can recreate it. But also what is poisonous, deadly, but also can maybe be used as drugs. But that's going to be it for the next video. We are going to finish the village. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button to see more. And I wish you all an amazing day. Bye bye!